Alright, hello everybody, I'm the Wildzee, and today we're going to be looking at the LCS on the actual LCS Analyst desk, which is my desk right here. Let's get into it. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at all of the LCS teams, and we're going to grade power rank them, I suppose, and see which teams were the best this week, which teams were the worst, kind of depending on their matchups that they had, but also, how they actually played. So, obviously, we're going to take a very easy start. Our first place team is going to be C9. If you watched either of their two games, you would know that they were the best team. Why are they the best team? Because they have a strategy that only they can do, and it works every single time. They get one team fight, and they just win the game from there. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly look at a little clip of that C9 versus EG game. All these clips are on the LCS Lol Esports Vods and Highlights channel. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at this clip. So I'm going to go ahead and explain what is going on in here. So Olaf, as you can see in the minimap in the down here bit, is in the bot jungle and he's coming in for a dive. C9 knows where Lee Sin is. They know that Lee Sin's probably going to go for a gank here, but EG doesn't know that Olaf is here. So we've all seen the C9 team fight that wins the game. So instead of just doing that, I think it's more fun to kind of look at a cool mechanical outplay. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to watch Nisqy here. So it gets the tether onto Jizuke. Jizuke goes over with a flash. Now we got to kind of slow this down actually, because a lot happens here. Alright, so Olaf comes in. Jizuke knows that if he stays here, he's dead. Nisqy hits the tether. He has the ward here, so he knows Svenskaren's coming in. And as Jizuke flashes, Nisqy flashes to dodge the Lee Sin Q, because Lee Sin would have killed him if he actually hit that. And then Blabber and Nisqy here kill Jizuke. So this game was already super over, because Jizuke took no Doran's shield. He didn't take Doran's shield, didn't take fleet footwork, didn't take anything to actually do well in lane. So this game was over from the EG perspective. It's just doomed. So that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to show from Cloud9. They're still the best. They still do the same thing every single game. They look great doing it. Yep, they're definitely our best team. Looking great. There was a little part during the GG game, which I'll get to later, where they kind of kerfuffle a little bit, but that was more because of a slight misplay on one player, but that's something that you can kind of iron out. So our second place team for the week is going to be FlyQuest. FlyQuest really impressed me this week. I think FlyQuest, you could argue that FlyQuest looked like the best team this week. I would argue against you, but I would say that you have a right to make that argument. I think Solo, even though I think he was on tank duty for both of his games, looked really good on tank duty. Santorin looked like the best jungler this week. I think Santorin on Trundle is actually insane. He's definitely the best Trundle in the LCS. Just really good play. Power of Evil, I've really been liking that he hasn't just been playing scaling mages, or if he is, he's been a lot more proactive than he was in spring. It's really good to see. And then Mash and Ignar honestly looked about the same as Wild Turtle and Ignar, but they just did more in lane, which, if they decide to keep in Mash, that might be something we can look forward to. Because I know Ignar likes to roam, but I know that a big reason that they do that is because Wild Turtle's not very good in lane. So if Mash is good enough in lane that Ignar is actually willing to play to win lane a bit, that's really good. Now, the game that we're going to look at, EG versus C9, that's not the one we're going to look at. We're going to look at Fly versus Dignitas. So in this game, Ignar actually had quite a few oopsies. Wasn't looking great. But the reason we're going to look right here is, so I said only C9 has this playstyle where they win one team fight and then they just win the game because the other team can't fight anymore. That's not true. FlyQuest has actually been learning a lot from C9. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this play. I think this is a little too early, but it's fine. So Solo calls in the Ornhorn, gets it. Maybe this is a bit of an early Ornhorn call, but it's okay. So they're going down. I believe they're trying to set up vision for Drake. So then Dig goes in for this fight because currently Solo is out of position here. So Viper goes in on him. Afro hits the hook. This is actually an okay engage by Dig here. This is actually pretty good by Dig. We'll talk about them later. Viper comes in here and he ints. Johnson and Afromu are actually pretty low. They force the redemption out of Afromu. But then they just go in on Viper. He's just dead. Solo is able to get out. They grab Santorin here, but Fly just is really good at just still fighting here. And that perfect pillar from Santorin, amazing. So we're actually going to back up here. This is a play that I think C9 would go for, and it's a play that Fly is going for that's really good. Like, let's just slow it down here a little bit. Maybe not this slow. Actually, this slow is fine. But we're going to speed it up to like 0.75. Here, and then... Okay, so Santorin hits this pillar, which kills Afromu. Then Ignar, who's been kind of doing battle game, gets this great play where the rest of the team's able to just kind of go in here. And then this flash by Mash is actually really good. The whole team just plays really well here. Solo's able to buy enough time that the whole team can set up, and then they get 4 players off this. This is just like a play that C9 would do. This is really good. I think Power of Evil and Mash did really good at just putting out damage, and Santorin just tanked up Stit. Ignar started the fight. Really good play. And then they get Baron off of this. That's really good. That's what we want to see out of like teams. We want to see teams learning from C9 to take this, hey, if we win this team fight, we just win the game style. So, good on FlyQuest. They're our second place team. If it weren't for some flubs from Ignar in the second game and it's a little bit of flubbing from Power of Evil in the first game, I'd say they're pretty good contention and maybe say that they're first. But I think definitely some small things they could work on. The Dig game, they kind of weren't really winning it that hard as they should until that team fight. I'm sure they'll work on it, but definitely really good stuff from FlyQuest here. So our third place team is going to be EG. So EG went 1-1, which might be a bit of a head scratcher for some of you because there was a 2-0 team this weekend, but I am not putting them above EG. EG, we're going to say that the C9 versus EG game didn't happen, all right, for them. You know, I have a bit of a habit of doing this because if you're playing against C9, you're just going to get dumpstered. So let's just wash that from our mind, especially with the Cassinan. Like, why the Conqueror on Cassinan when you're playing into the best early game team? Like, come on. So, anyway, the second game against Team Liquid, they did to Team Liquid what C9 did to them. And it was pretty good for a couple of reasons that I'll get into later. There are more reasons, but I just kind of want to show off this play, which I think was really good from EG. And I think it really highlights how Kumo has become a much bigger piece. And it's the reason I don't think Huni is going to ever be playing for EG this split. I think Kumo has grown into a really good player. Maybe Huni's been helping him with that, but Kumo's been looking really good, and EG's been really playing around him here. So at this point, Kumo's already gotten a lead, and they just want to keep making it bigger here. And this is just really good team play here. Like, you got to turn off the turret, and Impact's just dead. And this is a play that they've done a couple times now. I really like seeing it from EG. Like, I like seeing top dives when your top laner is on, when your top laner is already winning the matchup super hard. Like, Kumo had already pretty much won this match. Like, I think he actually got solo kills on him. I think he got a solo kill on him earlier. No, he didn't. Impact went down bot, and he died. The game was pretty much... This was where I think the game was pretty much over, because top lane could have potentially come back, but really good from EG to let Kumo actually get that kill, and I think they just played the top dive perfectly, honestly. So, Kumo could actually genuinely become one of the best top laners in the league, maybe, because Impact's not looking that great. Some days not looking that great, so Kumo, you know, I know that like this isn't a great thing, but I don't think there were any like super big highlight plays I can show off from EG in their game against Team Liquid, because I think Team Liquid lost like minute 3. So I'll talk about that when we get there. All right. This might be the last team I have positive things to say about, so stick around. CLG is our 4th place team. I know that this is not going to be consistent. I am almost certain they're not going to be our 4th place team after this week. But this week, they look like the 4th place team. Now, some people would say that since they went 2-0, they should be 3rd. I disagree. I think if you give CLG the matchups that EG had, they go 0-2. So, yeah. I don't think CLG looked that great. I think their first game against Golden Guardians was okay. It wasn't amazing, but it was okay. And then their game against Dignitas, I think was really, it was way too back and forth if you want to consider yourself a top 3 team. You should not be having a back and forth game against Dignitas if you're going to be considering yourself a 4th place team. But here's a play I think really highlights how they've improved from week 1. So last week I was saying it looked like none of the players were on the same page. It looked like all the players were basically doing a completely different thing from each other. Right? It just wasn't even close. Like, all of the players on CLG genuinely were playing a different game, and Smoothie looked like he was in ELO hell. This is a pretty good play. Now, granted, Golden Guardians kind of, like, fall for it, but, like, this is the play that wins them the game here. First, they get Closer. They shut down Closer, which is huge, because now Closer can't play the game anymore. And Ruin, I think this is a TP. Yeah. They already set up this ward to watch for this Nidalee to come in. And then Ruin uses it for a TP. So Closer's out of the game. And now they get this free kill on Huhi, which goes on to, I believe Ruin picks it up. Yeah, Ruin picks it up right there. And then that's just really nice. Because Ruin, I feel like Ruin's actually a top laner. If you give him a lead, especially against someone like Haunter, he's just going to win that lane even harder. Like, he's on Volley Bear. But now that he's got an even bigger lead than he already had, he's just going to win that lane super hard. So this was actually really good from CLG. I liked seeing this. This was good team play from them. Super cool. Hope we can see more of that. Maybe we won't. But it looked like this week, CLG definitely looked like they were working together. There were later plays. You know, Pobelter on the TF looks still pretty good. It's a nice non-heavy mechanics champion that he can just play in the side lane, and then when there's a fight, he can TP in. 6A was on a Felios, so you don't really have to worry about that. It's great. You know, just play super easy, low-skill comps. You'll pick up wins in the LCS. It's free. All right. Now is where I have to be less pleasant, because I will admit I really like Team Liquid, and because I really like Team Liquid, I am going to be more forceful against them. There are 2 Team Liquids. That's 4. 2 Team Liquids in the LCS. The first Team Liquid is the one that we're going to see here. This is the Team Liquid that lets Broxa play League of Legends. Now, granted, he's playing against Meteos, who I think is one of the worst. Not worst. He's one of the. He's having a bad split so far. This is just really good play, and I almost certain that this was called for by Broxa to go for this, because I think most of the time you give this dragon up. But this is the Team Liquid that lets Broxa play League. So, you know, Core JJ misses that hook. That's a little rough. But Stunt Trolls here. Stunt Trolls and goes in on that hook for no reason. Dies. Jensen comes in. Follows up. Broxa gets the first blood. And now they have full control over this Drake. 100 Thieves is like panic coming down. But impact on these tanks is great. And takes the dragon. Like, this is just really good play from TL. And then they let Broxa get this kill on Meteos, which is big, because Jensen could have taken this. But they let Broxa have this. And not to, you know, skip too much, but we'll just skip to the end of the game. you know, he's doing great. 3-1-6. Guy's playing really well. You know? Broxa, if you let him actually play League, guess what? He's good at League. So if you let him play League, he'll do really well. Surprise, surprise. Like, I don't think that you just focus the whole game around him, but this is a game where they let Broxa play League, and they let him, like, okay, you don't have to gank level 2. You can just chill. They did the same thing against TSM. They were like, hey, you can just farm it out, and then once you're ready to play around objectives, we know that you'll do better than the enemy team. Because TL, at its core, TL wants to play around these objectives because they're just the better team at these objectives, and they just win the fights at the objectives. Like, Broxa is really good at, like, working with the team to control objectives. So if you let him get to the point where he can control those objectives, you're going to be huge. So that's our first Team Liquid. That's the Liquid that beat TSM, and that's the Liquid that beat 100 Thieves. Now, we have our second Team Liquid. This is the Team Liquid where they put Broxa on a leash, and they drag him around like a dog. This was in the Golden Guardians game, and this was in the EG game. The difference is, well, let me show you. So Broxa on Trundle, goes mid. First thing first, he walks into a ward. Now, I don't know why he's going into the enemy jungle without Oracle Lens up, but he gets spotted on a ward. So this gank is already doomed right from the start. This pillar is terrible. And they get nothing. They get nothing off of this play except Broxa, you know, gets spotted. So what happens because of this? Well, Svenskeren now gets to take This is like when Closer got to take Broxa's red side. It's the same thing. Broxa comes in for a level 2 gank, he messes it up, and now he loses out on a huge amount of his camps. Okay, that's interesting, but what does that really mean? Well, it means that Sven actually has a level lead now on Broxa here. And Kindred is in, you know, over-under. Kindred's going to be better than Trundle if, you know, she counter-ganks. So it means that we get this, where they go in for this gank, Broxa comes in, hits another kind of weird pillar, and then just gets poked out, and yeah, that's just the Broxa juking into the cards is amazing, by the way. He could have potentially died from that play. So yeah, after this, Kindred just gets to take over his entire jungle. Like, there's nothing Broxa can do. And because EG's just a better team, let's skip ahead. Remember how we did the skip ahead thing earlier? Oh, look who's on Baron. Oh gosh, it's EG now. Like, I don't think Sven's an amazing jungler, but he's good enough that when Broxa just makes these really bad plays, and I don't think it's his doing, I think he's probably getting told to make these plays. He goes for these plays and then just loses the game. And because EG is actually better than Golden Guardians, EG actually takes advantage of that misplay and just wins the game off of it. Like, we've got a 3-level lead difference. Like, this is just crazy. So because of that, I have to put Team Liquid as our 5th place. Because, like, CLG, they played 2 weaker teams, but they looked better. They just looked, like, more cohesive. They didn't have this weird coin flippy thing. Like, if we see this more with Team Liquid, I think we get worried, but I'm assuming that they're probably going to try and fix this coin flippy thing. Alright, 6th place team. So, this is where it gets kind of interesting, because there were 3 teams that went 0-2, and there are 2 teams that went 1-1 beside Liquid. And I'm going to say, straight out of the gate, I think both of the 0-2 teams look better than the 1-1 team. Now, in what order? Well, I think Golden Guardians And then after that we say dig. Now I normally don't do 2 teams at a time. I mean, normally, this is my second video, right? But I don't, I don't usually put 2 teams in at a time. But, oh, Golden Blue, get out of there. But yeah. I think both of these teams kind of looked the same. It's just that Golden Guardians just looked better. So Golden Guardians against C9. Sorry we're going on to my desktop so much. So Golden Guardians against C9. There's not too much. Like, they got a lead. They just didn't really do all that much with it. But I think it's important that we see how they got that lead. Sven made a huge misplay here, because I'm assuming he thought Vulcan would get here faster. But then he just dies. So let's actually back this up. So the reason they win this is because this is something that's actually good to look at. I think that teams are not being aggressive enough into C9. I think they're letting C9 get away with a lot of stuff. So it's really good that Golden Guardians actually had the gumption to be like, no, Cloud9, you know what, we're not going to let you get away with this. We're going to punish you for this mistake. And so they kill Sven here. And, you see C9 starting to roam down, but it's just too late. And then Vulcans should have just ran away earlier. But he tried to bait. So then you get the TP in from Licorice. He's already in. Here, well, let's actually make this full screen so it's easier to see. Okay, so Licorice is already TPing down. That's why Vulcan actually stays, because Licorice TP'd in. Which is kind of hard to see on the map. So then Licorice goes in here. This should be a fight for them. But Hui gets this 3-man stun. He punishes this because it's like, hey, you're grouping on the set, dude. Like, why are you just all 3 grouping on the set? Like, this is actually really good. Like, I don't really love Hui's play as a support, but this is pretty respectable from him. So, good work by Golden Guardians. Unfortunate that Demonte couldn't get off the TP here. It gets stopped by Galio. Right there. And then that probably would have been Blabber dead. But good play overall. That was good. That was really good to see. And against Cloud9, it's really good to see that kind of thing. Yes, they lost against CLG. That game was kind of weird. I think that was just uncharacteristically bad play from all the players. I think they went in and they just had poor mental. Like, they were like, we really need to not lose against CLG, and then they lost against CLG. So, but they played against Cloud9, and they looked like a completely different team. So, really good. Hopefully they can keep this up. Unfortunate they're 1-3, but all right. Now, Dig, I don't have any clips on them because both their games are super uneventful, but they're looking better. I will give them the benefit of the doubt. They do look better. Their first game against, I want to say it was TSM. Yeah, I think it was TSM. Let's make sure. Our first game, yes. So I think the first game was Saturday. Nope, CLG, and then Fly. So their first game against CLG, that's the game I'm talking about. That's the first game where they actually didn't look that bad. Like, I think Afromu, unpopular opinion, Afromu is actually looking better. Do I think he's going to be, like, the best support in the league again? No. But his Bard play and his Thresh play actually looked pretty good. There were actually some moments that were very clean and very good. Johnson looked much better this weekend than last weekend. Froggen is Froggen. Acadian can jungle. Viper looks like he's running it down. But you know what? I think 4 players is enough that you can get into 8th place. It's going to be a struggle. But I think they actually looked, they actually looked decent enough into FlyQuest. They just couldn't close it out because Viper was running it down the entire game. But other than that, they looked all right. Yeah, maybe you can do something with that. Just, stop Viper from minting. All right. So now we get into our 8th, 9th, and 10th. This really shouldn't be much of a surprise. It's going to feel like a surprise, but our 8th place team is going to be TSM. And I know what you're saying, but they stomped Immortals. Anyone that plays Immortals is going to stomp Immortals. I don't care. I do not care that they stomped Immortals. They looked terrible in their game against FlyQuest. They beat Immortals, great, that's awesome. But then you like have like brain damage, I guess, and you play against FlyQuest, and there's no reason that they draft like they do. Everyone's seen the draft. We can pull it up, you know, for funsies. Sorry. What is this draft? What is this? You get the middle fiddle. All right, sure. But why are you putting double lift on Syndra? Why are you putting double lift? The dude can't play mages to save his life. I respect double lift. I think he's an amazing player. I think he's one of the best bot laners in the league. Can't play mages. I respect Reckless in the LEC. Can't play mages. That's fine. They're just old people. Don't try to force them. Don't try to force old dogs to learn new tricks. There's no point. Try to force a new dog to learn a new trick. You know? Like, this is just bad draft against the second best team in the league. You don't do that. This was downright trolling in draft. Like, this is like as bad as the Kane pick, in my opinion. I think this just screams, you know, I don't know, complacency? Or like complacency in the place of like experimentation? Like, you're trying to pretend to be experimental when in reality you just don't care? Like, come on, dude. Like, aren't you supposed to be one of the best teams in the league? Like, care a little bit. It's just really sloppy play from all of them. Trying to see. Yeah, here it is. This is really sucky, but this really shows how rough they are. So I want you to watch Spica here on the minimap, because the camera guy griefed this game. But watch the minimap here. So Santorin's going up into his jungle. Now Santorin on Trundle, really hard to try and invade, because he is just really good at defending his stuff. Like, look at these wards that he's placed. He already knows that Spica's trying to come into his jungle. So watch here. So Spica comes in on his red. Santorin's already there. So watch Spica's health bar here, because you can't. We already see that he's gone in here. Watch Spica's health bar here. Again, the camera guy really trolled. But look at that. Look at that. Spica's almost dead. And here's the other thing. Bjergsen has prio here. There's no reason that Bjergsen should be getting here late. He's pushed in the wave. Why does Azir get here first? Why any of this? Why does any of this happen? Why are you invading Santorin on his Trundle? Like, why? You don't win that. As Lee Sin, you don't beat Trundle in his jungle. Like, especially Santorin. Like, this is really good play from Fly, but like, this is unquestionably bad play from TSM. I gotta even put this on Spica. This is just a bad call from TSM in general. And then this causes the waves of the rest of the game, because this game was a stomp. Alright, so our last two games. If I was to say anything about TSM, I think I Will Dominate probably put it the best. I think they should just play like a budget Korean team. Your top laner plays some kind of crazy stuff every once in a while and can carry occasionally just by himself. Your jungler should play something that's stable. You know, Lee Sin's fine, Greg is fine, Sejuani, J4, Graves, anything, you know, anything meta, you know? Your mid laner plays a mage, your bot laner plays a hard carry ADC, and your support plays like Braum, or Braum, trying to think what else is, Set, whatever, you know, just something consistent. And there you go. I think if you do that, TSM raises... If TSM played like they did their first game, both games, you'd see them in the top 4. You'd see them in the top 3. You would see them as the number 3 team. But because of how bad that game was against Fly, I can't put them any higher. Like, I can't put them high because they beat Immortals, right? Like, anyone's going to do that against Immortals. Matter of fact, let's just bring that in with 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves! Oh my gosh! Why are we bringing them so low? Sunday's back in form. Guys. Oh, what are you doing? Ryan was like, in that game, he was like one of the best mid laners. Guys, they beat Immortals. Like, they beat Immortals worse than TSM did. Both of them only beat Immortals. You can't really get that much street cred off of beating the worst team in the league. It's like the term beating a dead horse. Immortals is a dead horse. So, yeah, no, I think 100 Thieves, you just... maybe they'll get better, but like Stunt still running it down. Meteos doesn't look great. Some days in Elo hell. Riot almost taking an import slot. Cody Sun's also in Elo hell. It's the same thing as last time I talked about them. And let's finish it off with Immortals. Except that's not the Immortals roster. I have a brain hemorrhage that's forcing me to imagine Immortals if they had their old lineup. I don't really need to go in on Immortals too much. Like I said, they got stomped by 100 Thieves and TSM. They just got stomped in both of their games. Soaz doesn't want to play. I mean, if you looked at his Twitter, he literally says, "Send help." Potluck looks like an average LCS jungler, and he's stuck on the worst team. Aka looks like he can't play League. Altec looks like he can't play League, and Gate looks like he can't play League. So you got 3 people that can't play League, and then 1 guy that doesn't want to play League. That's just the worst team. You can't really go too much into it. There's not like any clips I can show of how bad they are. Just watch their games and play taps over it. Like, it's just really sad. It's not fun to watch. It's just depressing. So, with that out of the way, let's try and finish up with something a little bit more fun. Let's try and finish up with something a little bit more fun, and it's my favorite section, predictions. I think the Friday games, this is going to be the first Friday Night League that has games that are fun to watch. FlyQuest versus CLG, this is CLG's chance to show that maybe they deserve this spot. If they go even with Fly, like I'm saying, like not even win the game, but if they can show that they're competitive against FlyQuest, maybe CLG's looking okay. If they get stomped, maybe they're not looking so good. Liquid versus Cloud9 should be pretty hype, actually. I think if they let Broxa actually play League, it'll actually be really fun to see Broxa versus Blabber. I think that should actually be a pretty good game. My predictions, I would say FlyQuest and I would say C9. Saturday, I don't think there's any really good games here. But if I had to predict, I'd say CLG, EG, TL, and Golden Guardians. This one could be kind of fun to watch. Maybe this one's fun to watch if Dig keeps trying to play League. And then our Sunday games. This one will be fun. This will be a fun game of League to watch. 100 Thieves versus TSM. This should be close because both of these teams are not very good. Immortals versus C9. C9, of course. I'm gonna give it to TSM, and I'm gonna be heartbroken because they're gonna lose. Give this one to FlyQuest. This one could be kind of close. And then Dig versus EG. I think it's fair to say EG wins that one pretty easy. So, should be a pretty easy weekend except for these 2 games. Friday is actually probably the hype day. So, well, I will check in with all of you next week. Leave your predictions or tell me how bad my power rankings are. And I will talk to you all in the next video. See you around.